live. So good morning or good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you're joining from. My name is Jesse, and I am with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. For those joining us for the first time, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. And we are really excited because this is our second last day of the entire 2019 year, over 400 sessions with amazing scientists, educators, and explorers around the globe. So thank you guys for being a part of our last days before we kick off anew with a huge new year in 2020. So right now we've got 4 classes joining us from across North America. I'm going to give them a chance to say a little hello. We've got Miss Brookings, grade 7s in Pinole, California. Hi, guys.
Everybody.
Hey, welcome in. Awesome. Hey, we've got Mr. Marson. This is grade 3s in Benicia, California. Hi, guys. Hey, little audio difficulty, but you're there and you're excited. There we go. Awesome. We've got Miss Pearson's grade 5s in Calgary in Alberta. Hi, guys. Hi. You're our only Canadian classroom today. I love it. Okay, you're representing the whole country. No pressure. And then last but not least, we've got Miss Hodges and Miss Trumbo's grade 4s in Greensboro in Georgia. Hi, guys. Welcome in. Let's get you guys in. Check that mic. Where's the thing? There they are. Mic difficulties too, but they're there. Welcome in, Georgia. It's so nice to have a Georgia class. We so seldom have Georgia classes. Oh, Miss Penfold just joined in too. Grade 1, 2s in Orangeville, Ontario. Their mic's not on yet. Oh, there we go. Hi, Miss Penfold's class. Welcome in.
Everyone say hi.
Hi, there's so many of you right where we left you in the last session. I love it. Okay. The reason you guys are all here today is for our speakers. So we are joined live in beautiful Vancouver by the team at Oceanwise at the Vancouver Aquarium in Stanley Park by Nicole and Rachel. So they are educators at the Vancouver Aquarium, and today they are going to walk us through a little bit about learning about sharks. Some of the most amazing, misunderstood fish in the oceans. They've been here for twice as long as dinosaurs. Over 400 million years they ruled the earth. They come on sweaters. They're just awesome all the ways round. So I'm going to turn over to them to blow our minds with some really cool shark stuff before we dive into Q&A. Without further ado, thank you so much for joining us, ladies, and take it away.
Hey, everybody. Welcome. And we're at the Vancouver Aquarium here in the British Columbia, Canada. So I'm Nicole, and beside me, I have a friend with me.
Hi, I'm Rachel.
Yeah, so we're at the Vancouver Aquarium, which is located at the traditional land of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nation. So we are happy to be here for the second last session with you guys. And then we are actually in front of a very nice gallery, and you can see a lot of fish around us. And this is actually the habitat that sharks have. So before that, I want you to tell me, how do you think about sharks? Do you like sharks? So I want you to do something with me. So if you like sharks, I want you to put a thumbs up like this to show me you really like sharks. If you think you do not like sharks for a reason, you can put it like this, like a thumb down. If you think, I kind of having a relationship, like I like sharks, but at some point, I do not like shark that much. So you can just put it like this.
Mostly thumbs up. That's good.
Thumbs up. Do anybody have a thumbs down like this? Let me see.
Few people, just a few in a few of the classes. Yeah.
You know what? For myself, when I was studying in a primary school in Hong Kong, I know nothing about sharks, and my person feelings for sharks is like this, like a thumbs down. Yeah. But after learning more about sharks and also their habitats as well as their behavior, my thumbs down gradually turned into like this, and eventually turns into a thumbs up. And I even went to the Maldives and swim with the sharks behind me, the species that behind us, that is called the black-teeth reef sharks. So we're talking about sharks, and I want you to know about how great are they. Oh, there's one black-teeth reef shark beside me, and one is coming here as well. Ooh.
Nice timing.
Yeah, nice timing, buddy. So we're going to talk about it. How good are they? How do they actually survive as the top predators in the food chain in order to catch fish, in order to find a nice habitats for them? And we're going to tell you more fun facts about sharks, and you will learn more sharks, or maybe you will have even more thumbs up later on. Are you ready? If you're ready, please.
I'm ready.
Hands like this.
Good. Okay. Diving in, literally and figuratively. Oh, there's a turtle too. Wow.
Yeah, there's a turtle. That's right. The turtle is actually share the habitat of the sharks. So sometimes you will see sharks and also turtle being together and interact with each other. So behind us for the gallery, I heard from Rachel that actually they interact a lot with each other. So sometimes the sharks would chase after the sea turtles called skuna, and sometimes skuna will bite the body of the sharks as well. So it's kind of an interaction. They're not hurting each other, but just an interaction between them.
Skuna likes to be bossy, and Skuna likes to nip their tail sometimes, just to remind them that she's in charge.
Yeah. So isn't it cute? Yeah, so back to the topic, we're going to learn about sharks. So sharks are actually top predators. They have a lot of ability, and also their body structure are well fit to the environment in order to find food such as fish and also different kind of penguins as well as squids. So I want you to check on your knowledge on sharks. So sharks have a lot of adaptations for them in order to find food. So for their body, they have different structure, and then also for behavior as well. They evolve into some different skills or strategies in order to fit in and survive in the environment. So now I'm going to show you a picture, and I want you to think how actually sharks can adapt to the environment in order to find their food as the top predators. So now I'm going to give you 10 seconds to take a look at the features and try to think of adaptations. And we will pick some of your friends in order to share with us your thoughts.
So thinking about what things do you see on the body of the shark that could help it survive or help it find food?
All right. So if you'd like, I could turn it over to some classes to ask some questions in a second, see what they think.
Yeah, that'd be good. Give him a few seconds.
Yeah.
I'll give him a few seconds.
Thinking about it. This is when we need the Jeopardy music.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. All right. How about Miss Hodges' class, who joined us today for the first time? So I want to see what you guys think. What do you guys see on the sharks that you think would help them survive in the wild? Anything that jumps out?
I hear a lot of water.
Yeah, water.
A lot of water. Yeah, they're in the water. But what about the sharks themselves? Do you notice anything about their skin, their color, anything that jumps out?
Tails.
Yeah, okay. How about one more class? I'm going to go to Miss Brookings' class. What do you guys think? What do you see?
Some dudes, minds. Tails. Lots of things.
Shark. Eyes and nose.
All right, so we've got some body features. We got gills, we got fins, eyes, nose, etc. Tell us a little bit about them, guys. Go for it.
Great. So actually, all of the answers from you guys are correct. So for sharks, they have great eyesight, and they can see from very long distance, and they have a very great sense of smell. So only a tiny bit of blood, they can sense it and swim very fast in order to catch the prey, like fish. So for the sharks, they have streamlined body, and also they have fins on the body so that they can swim very fast. And one very cool body feature is that they actually have two colors on their body. So black on top and then white on in the bottom of the body. So if you're a little prey and you try to swim in the water like this, and then when you are trying to swim, you cannot see any sharks around you, because when you look up the sky, try to look up, and then imagine when you look up the sky and the sharks that hidden themselves are actually having a white tummy, and that white tummy actually similar to the color of the sky. It kind of blends into the environment, so we call this the camouflage or countershading. It's one of the method of the camouflage. And imagine you're a fish again. And then when you look down to the seafloor, the color of the seafloor actually is similar to the color of the upper part of the sharks. So they again blends into environment to hide themselves. So that when sharks, they want to eat something like fish, they will just hide and then find a fish if they find one. And they swim very, very quick, and then they can catch one within seconds. So isn't it cool? And they are such a great predators, and we often call them sneaky sharks because they often hide themselves in holes or even near the coral reefs, or they have countershading so that they can hide themselves very, very nicely, and then they can just catch.
Yeah, so rays are cousins of sharks, and that one just did a really good demonstration of, as you said, the belly is white and it blends in with the sun.
Yeah.
And if the back is dark, it blends in with the bottom.
Yeah.
So you might see it on our fish and our sharks back here as well.
Yeah, good timing, Ray. Yeah.
They're very active today.
Yeah, very active. That's nice.
Ladies, I don't want to steal your thunder if you were going to talk about this anyway, but you mentioned how attuned their senses are. Great smell, great vision. And I know sharks have some extra senses that aren't in the normal 5 that we have. Could you explain a little bit about those?
Yeah, we're just about to talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so for the sharks, let me show you a diagram about that. Let me see. All right. Oops. Okay, so for sharks, they have actually have a very cool line called the lateral line on the body. So it's a like a sensory cell that on the body to sense the water current and also the movement in water. So when a fish, when they approach the sharks can make use of the lateral line in order to sense how close and how big that prey or the fish. So when they having the sensory done, they will actually know what kind of fish or how big it is, and then they will catch the fish with their sneaky actions, and they can get the fish very easily and just fulfill that appetite.
So how many of you with a little bit of a wave really like Spider-Man? Who here likes Spider-Man?
Me.
Yay! Okay, quite a few of you. So if we remember, Spider-Man has his spidey sense, where he's able to detect danger from behind him without being able to see it. And so that's what the lateral line does as well, being able to sense the movement in the water without having to see it. And then they can use their sneaky skills to catch the fish very quickly.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and of course, besides those body color and the lateral line, they also have rows of teeth. So I want you to use your finger and try to touch your teeth. How many rows of teeth do you have in your mouth?
7, 23.
Whoa. Are you a shark? So for sharks, they not only have 1 row of teeth, but they have at most of 30 rows of teeth for some species. So what they do is, every time when they catch a prey and then try to tear them into smaller pieces of flesh, they use the teeth, and sometimes the teeth will be removed very rapidly. And that's why they have rows of teeth, because the rows behind the actual teeth they're using, they will just try to replace the ones that are being removed immediately, so that they can have more powerful actions in order to tear the food apart, so that they can have more food. At the same time, when they tear the food apart, only 2 tiny pieces of meat is left into the ocean. So that's why when sharks are eating some little fish or other animals like octopus, they would just come in and try to get and share the little piece of meat. Ooh. So these are the adaptations that we have for sharks in order to survive as top predators. But Rachel, are all sharks eating meat?
That's a good question. Are all sharks eating meat? Well, it's a tricky question. Let's take a little bit of a vote. If you think that all sharks eat meat, put a thumbs up. And if you think that sharks don't all eat meat, put your thumbs down. All right, I think most thumbs are up, it looks like.
But a few are down. There's definitely a few that are down. Okay. Oh, and some of the down just went up with that comment.
Fair enough. So it is a bit of a tricky question because yes, all sharks eat meat, But not all sharks eat fish. And this is where some people get a little bit confused, is because the first thing that comes to mind when I think about sharks is the great white shark. And that's a big, very large, very fast shark that's around all around the world that tends to eat things like seals and sometimes has even bitten humans in the past. And because of the media, we think of this big, scary shark. But actually, there are over 500 different species of sharks around the world. And the smallest shark, actually, let's say the biggest shark, is the size of a school bus. If you imagine a public city bus or a school bus, that is the size of the largest shark in the ocean. And the smallest shark in the ocean can fit into the palm of your hand. And it glows in the dark, which is pretty cool. So if you hold out your hand, that is the size of a shark, and it is still a shark, which means it has these crazy teeth. It has the lateral line and those spidey senses. It has all those abilities to eat meat, but because it's so tiny, it's gonna look a little bit different, and it's gonna eat a little bit differently as well. So let's look at what I think is personally my favorite animal or favorite shark that has a weird diet, and that's the whale shark. Can I see a little bit of a wave? Have you heard of the whale shark before? Okay, excellent. A couple people have heard of this. Excellent. This is a shark. It still counts as a shark. It's still got the teeth. It still plays a very important role in the ecosystem, but it looks massive. Like I said, it's the size of a school bus. And it's probably the laziest shark you can think of, because this shark happens to eat one of the tiniest things in the ocean. And its hunting strategy looks a little bit like this. Open mouth.
Keep on fighting.
It glides through the ocean with its mouth open, trying to catch its prey. So Jesse, I'd like your help. Let's go to the classrooms we haven't talked to yet and ask them what they think the whale shark is hunting for.
All right, so Mr. Barsonis's class, what do you guys think? What's the whale shark going for?
I think it eats quail.
Krill?
Oh, krill. That's a really good guess. Does our other class have a different idea?
Yeah, how about Miss Penfold's group? What do you guys think?
Or do you?
Crayfish? Okay, I think we're getting back to crayfish. Perfect. Okay, so crayfish, krill.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Those are fantastic guesses. And you are correct. The biggest shark in the ocean happens to eat one of the smallest animals in the ocean, and that is krill. Krill are tiny little shrimp that are about, well, they're even smaller than your pinky finger. So if you take a look at your pinky finger, krill are even smaller than that. And so this massive shark is eating the tiniest things in the ocean, but it is still a shark. And all sharks have a very important job to do in the ecosystem, because sharks are fish. This is important to remember. So here's a little clip of our whale shark gliding through the ocean, trying to catch some of those plankton. And the little fish are not going to be eaten, but they're swimming around, also trying to catch the same food. So funny enough, whale sharks and little tiny fish actually are competitors with each other because they're eating the same thing. So as I mentioned, sharks are fish, and fish play a very important role in the ocean because they eat other things, but they're also eaten by lots of bigger things, including people. So hands up with a little wave. Has anyone here eaten seafood before? Okay, excellent, pretty good numbers. And I'd like to know, again, with your hands up, how many of you know where your seafood came from? Okay, still a couple hands up. So let's, before I got to the grocery store though, to be specific. So if you got your seafood from the grocery store, that's okay. But do you know with a hand up where your grocery store got the seafood from?
Very confident kids that do.
Okay, well, let's actually go to some of these kids. I'd love to hear where the grocery store gets the seafood from.
Okay, what do you think? Miss Penfold's class, where do you think it comes from? You got a bunch of kids with hands up in the air. Where does the grocery store get its seafood? The ocean?
The ocean.
Okay. Yeah, how about Miss Pearson's class? What do you guys think? Where do they get their seafood? You guys are so in unison. I love it.
All right, so we know that the seafood comes from the ocean. Does anyone know how it was caught though?
Anyone? Okay. Oh, Miss Hodges' class, and a bunch of hands just shoot up. How was it caught? By net, by hook. What else did I hear?
What do you think? Fisherman.
Fisherman, okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So there are actually a lot of different types of fishing methods out there in the world, and some of them are better than others. But the tricky part is that people don't always know which type of fishing method was used to catch their fish. For example, if you've ever gone fishing yourself, you've probably used a hook and a line. And that is a really good type of fishing because it means that you're catching one fish at a time and you're watching to see which fish you caught. However, because so many people need to eat seafood, there are a lot of different methods that actually can be very damaging to the environment. For example, there's one type of fishing method that takes a giant net with a weight on the bottom. They throw it into the water and drag it along the bottom of the ocean and then pull it up and take everything with it. So can you think of some problems that might come from that type of fishing method? If we take a heavy net, pull it across the bottom of the ocean, and take everything with it. I'd like to go to 2 more classes, Jesse.
Yeah, so Miss Pearson's class, I only came to you guys once so far, so what do you guys think? What's the problem with dragging a big net along the bottom?
What do you think, Ian?
Maybe taking seaweed away.
Taking
From
seaweed
Yeah,
away?
that's a very good point. Seaweed is an important habitat for lots of animals.
Yeah,
How about one more class?
Yeah, Mr. Barson's class. What do you guys think?
You could kill the sharks.
Yeah, it could also kill the sharks. And that's one of the things we're concerned about. When we do this kind of fishing method, we catch a lot of things that we don't mean to catch. And those are called bycatch. It's a type of animal that you didn't mean to catch, but you took it anyway. And sharks fall victim to this quite often, as well as some of our favorite animals like sea turtles, like sea lions. Those are my favorite. Sea otters, big fish. It hurts all the animals in the ecosystem. And unfortunately, there are lots of different types of our seafood that are caught in this way. But the good thing is that once you know a little bit more about these fishing methods, you can start being a smart seafood eater and help tell the fishermen companies, help tell the government, help tell all these people that humans want what we call sustainable seafood. So seafood that was caught in a way that does not hurt the environment. And the easiest way to do that is when you're at a grocery store or when you're at a restaurant, look for a seafood label. So this is going to be a symbol that's going to indicate it was a fish caught in a nice way. So in Canada and a few parts of the US, we have our Ocean-Wise Sustainable Seafood logo on the screen. And if you're in the United States, one of the ones you can look for is the Monterey Bay Sea Watch program as well. So this means that you are actively helping the ocean by eating a type of seafood that doesn't hurt the sharks, that doesn't hurt their food, and doesn't hurt the ecosystem as a whole. So you can be ocean champions just by taking that one little simple step. And also too, telling people about sharks, because as I said, there are lots of different types of sharks out there. Nicole and I are educators, so we know a lot about a lot of things, but if we'd love to know what your curiosity are, we're not shark experts, but we'll do our best to answer. And I have a challenge for you. If your question can be answered in a number or a Google search, try and think of something a little bit more in depth. We're happy to Google it for you, but we'll try and see what kind of curiosities you have about sharks.
Very cool. All right, ladies, thank you so much for that fantastic presentation. We're going to dive in. We got a bunch of groups watching on YouTube from all over the place, 7 right now. So if you guys want to type in some questions, and some of you already have been, I'll happily pass along as many as I can as well. But yes, let's dive in. I'm going to start with Miss Brookings' class. If you guys have a question to kick us off, come on up.
Do now later. Please turn your computer down.
Okay, I'll come back to Miss Brookings' class in just a second. How about Miss Penfold's group? What do you guys think? Let's unmute you. There you go, and you're good to go.
Okay, Kyla, go ask your question. Sorry.
No, take your time. You're good.
What's your question?
How big is shark?
How big are sharks?
Here are sharks. All right, so that biggest shark in the world, the size of a school bus. That is the largest shark.
And it's called a whale shark.
How about your sharks at the aquarium? Any that jump out as being particularly big?
Oh, that's a good question.
Whoa.
So the black-tip reef shark is the biggest shark we have. So if everybody stretches their arms out as long as you can, that's about how long the black-tip reef shark is. So it's more or less a medium-sized shark, medium to small. But we also have a couple other sharks in there that are tiny sharks, and they hide in the corals because they're often in the wild would be prey to other animals. So I believe the white bamboo shark and the epaulet shark are about the length of one arm or smaller. So you can stick out one arm, and that's our smaller shark.
Awesome. All right, Mr. Barzan is this class. Come on up, guys.
How big can baby sharks get in their mom's stomach?
Woo! Do you want to take a crack at that, or can I?
You can
Okay.
do that.
Well, okay. Why don't you mention the egg sac? There's two different types of ways that sharks are born.
Yeah, so some of the sharks, like the reef, black tip reef shark, what's am I doing? The sharks, that sharks, they can actually reproduce and born live, young juvenile and individuals, and they are usually this big when they're actually born. And then the other kind of sharks, like bamboo sharks, they have egg sac like this big. Yeah, so it's like a bag of little pockets. So there is an egg yolk inside, and then the little sharks actually live there up to 3 months. And then what they get is actually the nutrients inside the egg yolk, and try to get more nutrients and grow bigger and bigger. So after 3 months, they will try to use their power, and they try to make themselves get rid of that pocket by rushing out of that pocket's exit, the little hole inside. So they try to swim through that hole and try to live on their own inside the ocean. But sometimes they have a lot of threats because there's a lot of predators like bigger sharks or even seals. They will eat those little sharks. So sometimes they have to adapt by themselves in order to try to find some shady habitats in order to live inside so that they keep themselves safe. But for sharks, they either born live or even they have a little egg sharks to protect them and to get nutrients.
And it looks like your hood has shark teeth on it or something like that, which is very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to take a quick question from a class on YouTube. So Mr. Hancock's here, grade 4, is Georgetown, Ontario. Always asks like 50 questions whenever we do a session, so we love having him in. Among his many questions, okay. I love this one because it covers something that a lot of people fear about sharks. Do sharks eat people in the wild?
Awesome. Great question. There is no such thing as a man-eating animal. Humans are not the natural prey for anything. However, because we have a very good habit of spreading ourselves out and moving into new habitats, including the ocean, we can come into conflict with these animals. So sharks don't eat people, but they are capable of biting and of potentially eating as well. So they're not trying to do it intentionally, but it definitely can happen. Most shark bites happen because the sharks are doing what they call a test bite. And that's because if you think about it, sharks don't have hands. And when humans are exploring something new, we often use our hands. We'll shake hands with our friends. We'll pick up new objects. We use our fingers to explore the world. Or in this case, Skuna might use her fins. Sharks, however, don't have hands, so they have to use their mouths because that's all they have. And unfortunately, humans are pretty squishy, and shark teeth are very sharp. So most of the times, it's just because we've conflicted with each other, or sharks are trying to find food, and we are in their home. Yeah. I hope that answers the question.
It does. We always like the analogy here that, I mean, last year, so in 2019, 4 people were killed by sharks and over 20 people were killed by coconuts and over 15 people were killed by vending machines. So this is something where comparatively, you know, if you're respectful of animals and keep your distance and recognize that there could potentially be an interaction that could go poorly, you're unlikely to ever have a bad situation. I love the photobombing turtle. Thank you.
I know. My favorite motto is anything with a mouth can bite. Yeah. Just keep that in mind.
All right. Miss Pearson's class, how about you guys come up for a question?
How would you know if they're female or male?
That's a very good question. How do you know if a shark is a male or a female? On the bottom of the shark, I don't know if we'll get lucky enough for them to come close enough. But if you look at the bottom of the shark, right near the anal fins, so the fins are right near the bottom of the tail, if it's a male, there's going to be 2 extra fins that we call claspers that literally look quite like this. And their little fins will be on the side.
Yeah, I often call this as chopsticks.
Or they look like chopsticks. And so that's how you know it's a male. If you see the 2 extra fins, which we call claspers, it's a male. And if those are not there, it's a female.
Okay, very cool. How about we go to Miss Hodges' group? If you guys have a question, come on up.
Why do the little fish glow?
Why do little fish glow? Oh, that's a cool question. There's a couple different reasons why little fish can glow. These ones are glowing because we do have a spotlight right now, and that makes them glow. But Nicole, what's one other way a fish might glow?
Yeah, sometimes for fish, they have scales, and those scales actually reflect light as well. So for some fish that have silver color, they usually reflect the light, and when they reflect the light, they appear to have the silver color, so that when you look into the body structure, you will see silver color because they just reflect the light from the sky.
So it's a good camouflage if you're living in really sunny ecosystems.
Yeah, and then at the bottom of the ocean, there's some fish that actually do like luminesce. Is there anything to that? You can explain a little to us?
Yeah, so sometimes fish they'll absorb light and then they'll refract it again in a different color. And then some fish actually do have a special chemical inside of their bodies and can make their own light. So you might see those glow as well, but those are usually found more than 3,000 feet down.
Very cool. How about we go to Miss Brookings' class again? Does they have a student who's been waiting? Come on up, man.
Hey.
All right. Hi.
Hi.
Okay. How many babies do sharks have?
Ooh, good question. How many babies do sharks have? Totally depends on the species of shark. Our bamboo shark had like 5 or 7.
Yeah, 5 to 7 egg case when
Yeah.
they have when they try to reproduce. And some sharks, they will actually only have 2 or 3 individuals when they're born alive. Yeah.
If I may, I want to, Miss Lee's class on YouTube had asked as well, and I want to pass it along because it's something we really recently learned through another talk. So there's a guy who studies whale sharks, and they found a pregnant whale shark a couple of years ago on a beach, and they were like, how many babies? Because they had no idea. There were 360 babies inside the whale shark. It's the most of any species they've ever discovered, which is crazy. So that was just super cool. I just wanted to share that. Awesome. All right, before we go back to live classes, I want a great question from Maddie and Miss Lee's class again. How do you transport the sharks to your tanks?
Also a very good question. So what we'll usually do is we will use a net to make sure that we can catch them because they can be very fast and they can be very slippery. And then they get transferred into another container full of water. They get taken out of the net so they don't get hurt. And then we will carry or roll that container to wherever they need to go. And if you're transporting them over far distances, then we will set up like a lorry, that's a lorry. What's the English word for that? A big cargo truck, and we'll fill that with bins and full of water, and the sharks go in the bin. So they're always in water unless we have to quickly transfer them briefly.
And you have to drive that truck very slowly so that the sharks will not bump into any walls of that tank.
Right, very cool. All right, Miss Suguru's class, grade 5s in Chicago, Illinois, wanted to ask, what are some names of some prehistoric sharks? And you can name a few, but there's one I'm sure that we're looking for here, which is just the coolest prehistoric shark ever.
Oh, are they talking about Megalodon? Okay. That's honestly the only shark that I'm personally familiar with. Megalodon existed a couple million years ago. It would have been around the same time as the great white shark's great grandfather type thing. So it was a prehistoric shark. We do believe that it is extinct. The only reason that we know it existed is because some of the teeth have shown up, which is why we're able to find it and look at it. But it also was believed that it probably went extinct because it was so large, it was unable to keep up with its food supply, or it was unable to keep up with changing water temperatures.
Yeah.
Cool.
One way in order to test or know about the age of the sharks is to look at the cross section of the shark teeth. So when you cut it in a cross section and then you count the number of rings on those teeth, then you can estimate how old is that shark. So that is how we actually know the age of the sharks and try to know more about the history of them.
Very neat. Before we do a live thing, I just want to pass along. I'm going to type this in the chat bar too for our classes. There's an ancient shark relative called a helicoprion, which has a jaw that looks like a buzzsaw. It's like nothing else that has ever existed. It was a huge fish. It dwarfed a great white. So I'm going to pass along the name. I urge you to look that up. I'll probably pass a link when we're done so you can see this because it is wild. Anyway, all right. Let's dive back in. Oh, go ahead, Rachel.
Oh, no, I was going to say one of the classrooms has like a bit of a lineup going. So
Yes, we do. So Mr. Parsons' class. Come on up. Let's take 2 from you guys. You have had a lineup a while. Yes, I know.
sharks get?
How old can sharks get? Really good question. On average, they're only around 25 to 30 years old. However, there is an Arctic shark called the Greenland shark, which is something that lives about 3,000 feet down. It's found mostly in cold waters and around the northern parts of the world. One that was caught was believed to be around, actually 300 years old is the current oldest record. But the spiny dogfish in Atlanta can also live to be up to 100 years old. So it depends on the shark.
There you go, Georgia class. You got some really old sharks right off your shores. All right, Mr. Barneson is his class. I know we can't take every question from your class, so maybe there's a way to type in some later. But I'll go back to you guys for one more. Come on up, guys.
Do sharks chew their food?
Do sharks chew their food? Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, so
I like that
sharks,
question.
actually, they do not chew their food, but instead they will try to tear the food apart in smaller pieces while they move their head like back and forth like this with the teeth, so that they breaks the larger part into smaller pieces. So by that time, they can just let that big piece of meat go, and then they will just swim again to the smaller pieces and grab them and then swallow them to the body. So in theory, they don't chew the food, but they try to break them even, and they try to eat them bit by bit.
And you can try this at home. I would recommend getting adults' permission first so you don't scare them. But if you get a piece of steak or a piece of hamburger, try and eat it without using your hands. And then you'll probably be mimicking a shark.
That's awesome. All right. Let's go to Miss Brookings' class again. If you guys have a second question, come on up.
Whoa. Yes, whoa.
Hey, do you guys have a question?
No.
No?
How do sharks get pregnant?
How do sharks get pregnant? Good question.
That's a fair question, yeah. So most of the time, the male shark will hold on to the female using their teeth, and then those claspers will be used to pass sperm onto the female.
There you
So
go.
pretty much most sharks. But we don't know a lot about sharks. We don't know a lot about their pregnancy cycles. We don't know a lot about even what some sharks eat or where they go. Sharks are a massive mystery to us, and that's difficult because they do such important jobs in the ecosystem. There's still a lot that we don't fully understand.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Miss Penfold's group, come on up, guys.
Why don't sharks eat stingrays?
Ooh, why don't sharks eat stingrays? Actually, some of them do. Just depends on how big the shark is.
Yeah.
We've been getting questions on YouTube about do sharks eat other sharks? So yes, I mean sharks will eat anything pretty much that gets in their way if it's something that they are going for.
Yeah, pretty much if it fits in their mouth and they can catch it, they absolutely will. But sharks can also be outcompeted by other things. So like large adult stellar sea lions might eat baby sharks, for example. So sharks are not avoid of predators. They do have lots of predators, including each other.
Awesome. All right. We're going to take one more question from a class on YouTube. I also want to note one of the classes looked up Helicoprion and loves it. So thank you for that, guys. Awesome. All right. Miss Culbert's group, why do sharks have such good eyesight?
That would be a very good question, because as they actually live inside the water, they try to evolve because they try to adapt to the changing environment. So by the time goes by, actually their eyes are getting more precise, and then they can actually look in a far distance. So it's actually because of the evolution as time goes by. So that's why they have great eyesight. Maybe they have great eyesight better than before when before we were born, or even when the great sharks, the grandparents of the great white sharks appeared.
Yeah, so all sharks are, like all animals are evolved to live where they live. So if an animal lives in the open ocean, where there's vast amounts of blue for miles and miles and miles, most of these animals evolved to have really good eyesight so that they can survive in that place.
Cool. All right. A couple more quick questions. Miss Pearson's group, if you guys want to come up for one more, and then we'll go to Miss Hodges to wrap it up.
They all just left.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's okay. We can pass on more questions later. If you have anything else in writing later, and I'll get to that in just a minute, but no worries, and I hope they all enjoy it. Awesome. All right, Miss Hodges. Actually, Miss Hodges group, I'll come to you in one quick second. Another great question online. C&J Morrison School. Shanna's wondering whether any sharks in cold areas hibernate like some other animals do.
Oh, that's a very good question. I personally don't know of any specific species, but some sharks are specifically adapted for cold water, which I find interesting. So some sharks have special muscles to help them survive in cold water. So sharks that are in cold water generally are supposed to be there, and sharks that are in tropical water don't tend to leave tropical waters, with a few exceptions. So I don't know of any sharks that hibernate. I don't know of any aquatic species, actually, that hibernate specifically. But please go do your research and then send us a message on our website so that we can know more.
Yeah.
This is a great point, actually, because, again, you've seen lineups of classes today. We've asked questions of classes where everyone puts their hand up. So for kids that want to ask questions that we couldn't possibly get to in this session, how do kids learn more about sharks, learn more about the aquarium, and ask you guys if there's any other way to get that sort of answer back?
Yeah, absolutely. Please go to education.ocean.org. There are a few ocean literacy courses on there for different age groups, and they have discussion forums. So you can post all of your questions on those discussion boards, and both Nicole and I will see those and we will happy to answer those. So if we didn't get to yours today, please go to education.ocean.org, check out those ocean literacy courses, and fill out some questions on the discussion board, and we'll absolutely get to those.
And you can also go to the YouTube channel of OceanWise. We actually provide a lot of videos about sharks as well, and then also about overfishing and also threats that are faced by sharks. So you can actually learn more about that too.
Very cool. I'm going to pass along those resources to our students when we're done. And just a note, and I always say this, OceanWise's education platforms online are the most robust of any group probably in the world. So you can check out a lot of great resources there. Do check that out. Do ask more questions. It's a really great way to learn a lot. All right, we're going to wrap up with one last question from Miss Hodges' class. Welcome back, Georgia, and come on in, guys.
How many teeth can a shark have?
How many teeth can the shark have? That's a good question. The number that I'm aware of is it averages 30,000 teeth in a lifetime. I don't know if you have a different number. That's
Yeah,
what I heard.
it's the one that I know too.
Okay, so on average, again, depends on the type of shark, but 30,000 teeth in a lifetime.
Very cool. All right, I know we could talk all day about sharks, guys, and I really love the enthusiasm. Unfortunately, we're just out of time. So thank you guys so much for taking part. What we do at the end of every session, I'm going to demute every class's microphones. And so boys and girls, if you guys can get ready to join me in saying a huge thank you to Nicole and Rachel for joining us today. You are all now demuted. Go for it. Thank you, guys.
Go.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
kind of embarrassed.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Really appreciate you being in, and again, in our third last session of the year. Nicole and Rachel, thanks so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody. Again, please send in those questions. We'd love to see what you're thinking about, and keep being curious, keep exploring. Hopefully we'll see you again in the future.
Awesome. Have a lovely